ASAP Science said what? Vsauce said who? TED Talk said huh? Because of me, my friend. I am the edumacation station. When I was 7 years old, my little brother was born. I've always been good at bonding with people younger than me, and I was ecstatic at the idea of having a little brother. As he got older, though, he didn't develop. I tried to talk to him, and he wouldn't care. I mean, I could make him laugh and stuff, but it wasn't the same. The DSM-5 is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. 5th edition, hence the 5. It's published by the American Psychiatric Association, or the APA, and it's used by professionals to diagnose mental disorders. The DSM-5 defines Autism Spectrum Disorder as a neurological and developmental disorder that affects how people interact with others, as well as how they communicate, learn, and behave. My brother ended up getting diagnosed with autism by most doctors my parents took him to. No one knows specifically what causes neurological conditions like that of ADHD or autism, though research indicates a strong genetic contribution, with estimates suggesting 60 to 90% of the risk comes from a person's genome. TLDR, if you're neurodivergent, you probably got it from someone in your family. Probably a good time to mention that I have ADHD and take medication for it. ADHD is another neurological condition that we'll be covering. The DSM-5 defines it as persistent and impairing levels of inattention, disorganization, and or hyperactivity impulsivity. TLDR, I don't listen! I really don't. I really don't. Some symptoms include appearing not to listen when spoken to directly, difficulty organizing tasks and activities, often losing things necessary for tasks or activities, being easily distracted, failing to follow through on instructions or finishing work, avoiding tasks that require sustained mental effort, fidgeting with hands or being generally squirmy, finding difficulty in doing things quietly, impatience, and talking excessively. I think my ADHD is worse at times and better at others. Like, I can talk a lot, but that's when I'm comfortable. A lot of the time, I'm anxious in social situations, and as a result, don't talk nearly as much. Sometimes I can be really patient with others, and other times I fantasize about getting a bulldozer and just... I remember at my first job interview, I'm like, I'm such a patient person, and I work customer service, so that goes as well as you'd think. There's a lot of stigma around neurological conditions. I said I do customer service. I'm a cashier. I was helping this older gentleman check out. He seemed pretty nice until he started going on this rant about being neurodivergent. You know, stuff like, back in my day, nobody was autistic. Your generation's a bunch of snowflakes. You know, every ignorant thing that an old person could say, he said. Here's the thing, though. I wasn't mad at all, because frankly, I found it more amusing than insulting, especially because before he said all this autism is a made-up thing, blah, 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 type stuff, he went on a 30-minute tangent about trains. What I've come to realize is that, especially in the older generations, things like being neurodivergent and having a disability was taboo. People didn't talk about it. And a lot of these older people, they were neurodivergent, and rather than getting the help they needed, they were told to suck it up and stuff, you know? And as a result, their lives were exceptionally harder. So, of course, they're annoyed, right? Because the younger generation, they're loud and proud about having a disability, they're boldly advocating for themselves, they're getting the assistance they need. These older people lived much harder lives, and it didn't have to be so hard, so I can't even be mad, I just feel bad for these people. One of the biggest myths surrounding neurological conditions is nonsense like autism is caused by vaccines, and now you have all these anti-vaxxer parents who would rather have their kid die of some disease from the 19th century than have autism, and that is an insane thing to do. And guess what? Autism isn't even caused by vaccines anyway, so what is the point? This is more of a misconception than a myth, but people assume that autistic people are more special and smart than people who aren't. Especially in Hollywood, people assume that all autistic people are just stuck-up geniuses, and that's not true. While it's true that many autistic people have special interests that make them more knowledgeable in certain areas, autistic people have the same strengths and weaknesses as anyone else. Being neurodivergent doesn't necessarily mean you'll be a genius. And let's not forget that it's called Autism Spectrum Disorder because it's a spectrum. Some autistic people are more higher functioning than others, to a point where an autistic person can lead their entire life without knowing they were autistic because it wasn't as apparent for them, whereas some people have it more severe and end up needing lifelong assistance. Not one autistic person is the same because nobody is the same, autism or not. The myth regarding ADHD is that if a kid isn't visibly hyperactive, they can't have ADHD. The truth is, there are two presentations of ADHD. A, being hyperactive impulsive presentation, symptoms including being fidgety and extremely active, and B, inattentive presentation, symptoms including being easily distracted and having difficulty focusing on things that require sustained effort, you know, like homework. Boys are more likely to get diagnosed than girls because, let's face it, neurodivergent or not, boys are crazy and they don't like staying still regardless. Statistically, more girls have inattentive presentation, but a lot of the time, a girl who zones out a lot isn't seen as someone who could be neurodivergent, she's just a girl with an imagination. Well, the only thing I got out of being a girl with an imagination is 12,000 characters with extensive backstories in my head and no patience to write it down. There's still a lot of stigma around neurological conditions like that of autism and ADHD. For example, autistic individuals are often stereotyped and discriminated against, with roughly 79% of autistic adults reporting feeling socially isolated. Many are reluctant to pursue romantic relationships or even friendships at times. And that sucks, right? I mean, I've never fit into social scenes, and I never really thought of that being due to my neurodivergence, but I know what it's like to feel like an outsider. And a lot of it is like, you don't get it. I don't know why it's so much harder for me to connect with people face to face. And it's lonely. And when you have a condition like autism, which makes it so you interpret the world in an entirely different way, it makes it harder for you to relate to people. And I guess people tend to fear what they don't understand. Make no mistake, you can't cure a neurological condition. Like, you can get therapy and take medication to help with symptoms, but that isn't going to change how you fundamentally operate. That's what it means as a neurological condition. About 1/3 of adults, or 36.5%, are not receiving any treatment for their ADHD. Why? Because even now, in the world we live in, where we have significantly more freedom to talk about what makes us different, people have all these misconceptions like, oh, you can get addicted to meds, or oh, they ruin your personality and your mind. When I first started getting treatment for my ADHD, I felt like I was being treated like a crazy person. Like, there was something wrong with me, and as a result, I was so much more resistant to getting help and taking meds. I hated feeling helpless, I guess. But I find that sometimes a little help can allow you to thrive in ways you never thought possible. My main point is neurodivergency isn't a black and white matter, and like most things, it takes compassion and understanding. If people don't get you, that's okay. If you face challenges, you're allowed to cry and be mad about them. But get up, dust your butt off, and keep persevering. Our journey is never done, friends, and I believe in you. You're magical, truly. And to everyone watching this, if you find yourself believing you don't measure up to others, remind yourself that some of the simplest capabilities you have are mountains for some other people to grasp. You're incredible as you are. Never forget that. Hey, hot people, how's it going? As I record this, I'm like 2 days into summer vacation and school is over. Thank God, dude. So yeah, this video was for my AP Psych class. My final project, actually, I got 100 on it, so you already know. I actually had to speed up the audio because it had to be under 6 minutes. So like, y'all, I'm sorry if you're having a seizure trying to keep up. I did add subtitles, which I hope makes things easier for everyone. So the format of this video, it's a little different in a visual sense because I recently got a drawing tablet and it's taking some getting used to. This entire drop in quality, it's just like me essentially shifting half the method of how I know to make videos. So just bear with me. Like, I'm going to do more with it and I promise to get better. Now, if it's not already blatantly obvious, I do not have a consistent upload schedule in the slightest. I am a high school student. I do have a part-time job, as I said in the video, and I have to start thinking about my future and stuff. Honestly, it's sad because I thought by this time now I'd be monetized and have a bigger audience and just be generally better at art than I am. For so long, I wanted this to be a thing I could do and was starting to wonder if it's even a thing I have even a little bit of a chance for. So I'm not quitting, I promise. It's more so being like, I don't know what to do with myself. I do hope like I can post more than one video this summer and maybe more within the year. I think I just need to find my flow and how I can make everything fit in my life. To be entirely honest with y'all, this year just sucked. Like, mentally, it just was not a good year. And that's not an excuse, and my lack of progress is no one's fault but mine, but I hope some of you can resonate with that. To make it quick, though, I love YouTube. I love the opportunities it's brought me. I love all the friends I made, and I love the talented people who decide to draw me on, like, they choose to draw me. I don't know why they choose to draw me, but they do. And I know it's cringy, and every creator says this. It might not even sound real at this point, but I love each and every one of you. Like, especially the people who have stuck with me since the very beginning. I love all of you. So thank you for sticking around. Like, subscribe, comment. It absolutely helps. Share with your friends. And with everything kept in mind, over and out.